Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Breathing Room.
Hey
Thank you so
y'all.
much for joining us. So today we have, or whenever you're watching it tonight, this evening, whenever you want to watch it, but right now is today for us. And we
Yeah.
are so excited because we have such an amazing topic for you guys. Well, we're going to be talking about marriage. So to kind of start things off, I'm gonna tell you guys how long I've been married, and then everybody else gonna tell you how long they have been married. So I have been married for 5 years this year. Yeah,
Wow.
we married in 2015. Somebody else go.
Me, I also am coming up on 5 years of marriage.
Whoa. Go
Yay.
y'all.
We right there.
Yeah.
Mary Emily.
I'm coming up on 2 years. So we got married September 22nd, 2018.
Oh, the
Hmm.
day after my husband's birthday.
Mm.
And
Savannah.
here, I'm coming up on 2 years too, September 1st, 2018.
Mm.
Newlyweds. Y'all the newlyweds.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's still new for y'all.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I have been married. It will be 7 years in a couple
Oh,
of
gee.
oh,
Heard you
oh,
tell Mr.
oh,
OG.
y'all.
Ready for that one.
That was 7 years. It's been it feel like 7 years, okay? But it's good now. We in the good days. We living in the good
Goals.
days.
Jatim was like
Okay?
goals.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't know
so
how
today
people
we're
stay
just
married
gonna talk
without
about
Jesus. Lord. Okay, go ahead, Ashley.
yeah, so today we're gonna talk about different topics in marriage. So the first one is everybody gonna say it together. S
Talk
E
about sex, baby.
Sex.
Let's
Let's
talk
talk
about
about sex, baby.
Come on, CEO.
yeah, so the first topic is the topic and it's sex. I know a lot like before I got married or even married, like you don't really hear too many people talking about sex now. So sometimes I often find myself listening to like different podcasts about it, or I mean you just gotta do different stuff to kind of keep it
Like,
important in marriage because I'm busy, I have a lot of kids. It's very important that you keep it important in your marriage. I must open up with this story. I know when I was in my 20s and I used to go to the small group and this lady who has and still married, I think they've been married for over 40 years, like a very long time. She told me, and it has stuck with me forever. She told me that she never tell her husband no. Never. Like
She's a saint.
like she never tell her husband no. I mean, and the way she broke it down is very important. So she told us that the reason um the reason she don't tell her husband no is because she feel like it's a responsibility for her as a wife to meet that need for her husband. So yeah, she have a lot of kids too. I think she had like 7 daughters. Um she has 7 daughters
Telling
and
that man no, got you them baby.
okay.
But she's never said no.
That's what happened.
I'm for pimp.
Yeah. Yeah, so she has 7 daughters, and she said she never told her husband no, and she said her marriage has been the best marriage ever. And I see that. I can see um how that would help a marriage. I mean, to me, I do look at it as a responsibility. Like, for as far as for me, like I said, I know as a busy mom, busy, you still have to find a way to make it a priority. I do feel like it's a responsibility. One day I was thinking about how when I wasn't married, how we used to just look at it as like a little pleasure, like, oh my God, we about to go meet up with such and such, and
Right.
it's about to go down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was more of like a pleasure thing. But now I think the pleasure, because you're just with this one person, I think the pleasure now is more of it's pleasure and a responsibility. Um, I mean, because we grown here, like I don't know how y'all feel about that. Maybe I don't know if y'all look at it as a responsibility, but I think for me, I definitely look at it as our responsibility. And
I
I have taken on that thing. Like, I'm not saying that, you know, it's not always a good time. Like, you know, like you said, we are moms, we all got other things going on, but I think you just have to make it a priority. And me, I
Yeah.
just choose to look at it as is my responsibility. Sometimes it's, you know, sometimes you just got to make a sacrifice. I don't care how tired you are. I don't know how y'all feel about that. Tiki, what you think?
I think I agree. I definitely think it's a responsibility, but you don't want to confuse responsibility with chore. So
Right.
we look at cleaning the house and all those things or whatever as a chore, but you don't want to confuse
That's not fun.
responsibility and chore. So I definitely think it's my responsibility to make sure that my husband is pleasure as well as myself, and in return, it's his responsibility because he has his responsibilities as my husband, as the man. And
Right.
so I think that that's just kind of, as a woman, and not to say I always have to initiate it, but recognizing that it's my responsibility to make sure that, I meet his pleasure, his
Right.
pleasure needs. And it's like with me, intimacy. So
Mhm.
that I think intimacy is definitely a big part of, keeping the sex alive, if you will, and making
Right.
sure the responsibility is maintained. Because like I tell my husband, like, look, I don't have no problem with sex and making sure you're pleasured, whatever. But my intimacy needs need to be met.
Mhm.
Make me feel wanted, and
Right.
if I know that I'm wanted by you, touch
Yeah.
me, whatever, smack me on the booty every now and again. Those things, those
Yes.
things are cool because again, it doesn't make my responsibility feel like a chore because we're keeping that
Yeah,
connection,
you
that
got to keep it there.
intimacy
Yeah.
going. Even with our clothes on, we don't have to, I don't always have to be okay once you're,
Yeah.
bearing
Yeah,
it
once we
all.
settle down at night.
Yeah, once you bearing it all, now you wanna
Right.
get into sex. No, it's intimacy. It's important to, and just the same thing. Like I want him to love on me. I gotta love on him, and make
Yeah.
sure that he knows that I got my eye on you.
Mhm. And
Like
lately,
you.
like
Mm-hmm.
you said, I think we also got to give him something to look at. Like, you
Yep.
know, I know lately for me, like just being home in quarantine, like I don't really have a reason to like dress up and then
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I do have a reason because I need to, give him something like put on a nice outfit. Like even though you're just gonna be
Yeah.
sitting at home, but when like my husband, he's been working from home. So like when I walk through the door during his lunch break, like I want him to tell me, "Oh, you look cute today," or "Your hair is cute,"
Mm-hmm.
or "Your makeup is cute." Just give him something to look
Yeah.
for. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to do a little something,
Right.
put a
Mm-hmm.
little effort in.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I find so I just want to piggyback kind of off of what you guys were saying. Y'all look great because I love the story actually that you gave about the lady
Yeah.
about her telling her husband no. I cannot say that is my testimony though, girl. Okay. That is not my I definitely believe that sex is important and I agree about it being a responsibility because I mean you have to I think it's about responsibility on both ends, husband and wife,
right,
to make sure that
it is
they
definitely that. Yeah.
prioritize sex in a marriage because it is very important. Sex is like one of the number one reasons why people get divorced. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But sometimes that can be also my struggle bus area, especially being a new mama, um,
Yeah.
because he don't always get a yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
just being the realness of it from and on my end. And not saying that I don't want it. You know what I'm saying? I definitely think that it's a responsibility and it's something that I prioritize. But sometimes I just be tired.
Yeah.
You still
Yeah.
finding your balance. You still because it will
Yeah.
your life
Yeah.
change. So now you're still finding your balance to say, okay, before we had kids, let's do it. But now it's like
Right.
okay, now we got a child, so now I have to rebalance
Yeah.
everything, recalibrate. There you go. You got to
Right.
recalibrate.
And our lives are like so busy. Sometimes it's not like we have to schedule sex, but like schedule time together.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's more than just sex. That's just like time together, period. And our lives are so busy. So anyway, yeah. And then also I'm a breastfeeding mama. I know we talked about this on the phone the other night too. And so my body is always I feel like I've even gotten this saying now that Avery's gotten older. I'm like, this is mommy's body. Like it's not
Mhm.
yours. It doesn't belong
Yeah.
you. It's mine. And so sometimes, like when I finally get my body to myself, I just want my body to be mine. It's right there.
Yeah.
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 And I
So
don't
what
know
they
fish or what, but sometimes, like this is a strong area for Tiki and Ashley. And I will say, like, this is an area that I can't say that I say yes every time. I just don't. Because some times I'm just like, I just can't. Like, I'm tired. But I think that it's also vice versa. I don't know about anybody else's husband, but there's been times where I'm like, and he's tired, and I just have to understand. So, and it's not, I think it just comes down to communication. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And some things work in some households and some don't. But Miriam, what were you going to say though?
I was going to say, yeah, like you said, doing what's best for your household. Because what they don't tell you is that after you have kids, some women, their sex drive goes down.
Yeah.
And initially, you and your husband were getting it in every night, and then you have a baby or you get pregnant, and you're like, I don't really want it every night anymore. And so something that I wish I would have known going into marriage was, hey, girl, your sex drive may change, or as he gets older, his sex drive may change. And so to, like you said, communicate and find that balance is important. And then I think, I'm over quality over quantity. So like you said, that with that balance, I'm like, okay, well, we got 2 hours tonight. Let's have fun. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to find the opportunity. I think that's a great point, because I remember talking to someone, and I know she won't mind me sharing this, but I was talking to her and she was just telling me that, and I think we mentioned something like this up on the phone. She was like, her and her husband be like, oh, well, let's come together on Friday night.
Right. Let's come together.
Because we got a busy week this week. How about we come together on Friday night?
Like, right.
You looking forward to it? I'm looking forward to it. And then that could be a great benefit, because like I'm like, listen, me and my husband coming over. Let me go get a cute lingerie. It could be great. Like that's so great.
It's just like date night. It's just like date night. You still have to schedule your date night. It's kind of like keeping it fun, and again, intimacy. You're intimate throughout the week. While you're at work, or in crossing through text message, whatever. And so it's like, okay, if you're gonna schedule, you gotta schedule. So it's really like, because you still have to make sure that you're staying friends, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's intentional. So it's I think it's all part of being intentional. If you're gonna intentionally know that, okay, you know what, he's my husband, but he's my boyfriend too, and so I gotta still make sure I'm dating him.
Eggplant text message, boom, boom, boom. Okay.
But I think, like you said, though, Tiki, like for me, I think it's important for women and both the men who may be watching to understand that, like, for women personally, sex is a more like, it's an emotional thing. Like, I have to know that I'm wanted. I have to have some sort of emotional connection first to make me feel more in the mood. For a man, I think his is more like, almost like, I hate to say it, but it's almost like primal in a sense. Like they just need it. Like they just need to have sex. They don't necessarily have to, like, you don't have to be nice to them. Like they just, sometimes they just want to have sex.
Right. You can be not. I don't care how you look.
That's something you have to communicate as well. Like I've recently, to be transparent, had to sit down and tell Sean, like, when we argue or like when we've had a really rough week, I find it hard, to like be in the mood. So like if we can come together and like have that discussion and be like, okay, we've made up, we communicated, like we love each other, and like have the talk, have the communication, and that makes me personally more in the mood. Like that makes me want to have sex.
Yeah.
It definitely comes down to a communication thing and where you are emotionally, mentally, your husband, making sure y'all meet each other's needs. But it's definitely all about communication. Exactly.
Definitely.
All right. Well, let's get, unless anybody else has anything else to say about sex. I mean, we could talk about sex forever. Anybody else say about sex? We can move on to the number 2 thing that they do not tell you about marriage. Okay.
Yep.
Is boom, boom, boom.
Money does matter.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Buy them coins.
Money does matter. And it also, just like sex, needs to be communicated about. Especially, I mean, if you could go back in time throughout your engagement, but if you can't, talk about it now. Talk about it today. Quick story. So my husband and I, we got married in September. We had just footed the bill for our wedding. It was a lot going on. This is a big no-no. I do not suggest this to anyone who's engaged or courting. My husband and I, we co-signed on his truck together before we got married. Don't do that. But that's what we did. So when you co-sign on stuff, that affects your credit. So even though he was paying for the truck, I co-signed on him so we can get a better deal, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, at the time, we weren't communicating about our finances. We didn't know each other's money languages, which is something that's also important. If you can sit down and talk about your money language, just how you have love languages. Some people need affection. They need physical touch. Some people need acts of service. My husband and I, we had different money languages and we didn't know it. He is more of a giver. He's, he sees money as a means to give and to support other people. I look at money as security. So I need to feel like if I have this certain amount in my savings account, I feel secure. Some people look at money as a sense of power, and that's fine too. So just learning each other's money languages is important.
Right.
But yeah, back to our story. So we didn't know each other's money languages. And we had separate accounts. We didn't have a joint account at the time, which for my household, having a joint works for us. We have a joint account with all of our bills and major house expenses come out of. And then we have our separate like play money that we just have for ourselves. And like, again, do what works for your house. But anyway, back to the story. My husband and I co-signed on a truck, his truck, and he was paying for the bill out of his account. I asked him after the wedding was over and everything. I'm like, okay, so you good on bills? You feel good? He's like, yeah, I'm good. Long story short, I wake up to a message from Credit Karma saying my credit score has dropped 100 points.
Oh, not 100.
100 because I don't have a lot on my credit. I have my student loans and I have like one credit card. So like I've been just building my credit score on that. And so I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? So I'm like freaking out, like somebody's hacked my account, like something's going on, my identity's been stolen. Long and behold, my husband didn't feel man enough or comfortable enough in telling me that he couldn't afford to pay the car payment that month. And so he didn't pay it. Meanwhile, I have a whole stack in savings that could have gone to the bill, but he didn't feel comfortable or open enough sharing that he didn't, because he felt like I was stronger with money. He just didn't want to come to me in that area. But it just really goes back to communicating and being one. I mean, we've recovered from that. My credit score has gone up, but no, it really, more than my credit score being affected, our trust really hit a toe. Because I'm like, yo, you could have told me, like, why you told me you're good, you lied, you didn't tell, so it was like our trust really our trust score went down, or my trust score went down. And so money does matter. Communicating about money, knowing each other's money languages. How do you view money? Are you a big spender? Are you a big saver? All of those are important, even down to budgeting. Like, okay, so this is what we feel comfortable with having in our nest egg. This is what we can spend. All those things matter. It does.
Yes.
I
agree.
That really
matters. To take a moment and just recognize, like, okay, we've all been married different, amount of years or whatever. But Miriam, you said two things that me and my husband, we haven't spoken about. Like you said, your money language, and then you said your trust score. So it just goes to show it doesn't matter. You don't have to be married 20 years to have wisdom about, what it takes to be married, what it takes to be a wife, what it takes to be in a unit or whatever. I like that.
That was literally October when he didn't pay the car payment, and we had just got married in September. So I'm looking like, Lord, what did I do? What is happening? Why? But no, in marriage, you become one. So all of that, your money is one. Your sex, like your body becomes one. All of it. I wish I would have sat down and said, y'all need to have these money conversations. Because I knew with him, like, oh yeah, he likes to spend and he likes to give. His heart is to give. If someone in church says, I need $200, he's like, okay, I got you. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. No, we don't got him. Like, so we had to learn each other's heart. And so we do have an area. We're like, okay, you can, if your cousin does need $50, okay, cool. But okay, we're going to spend $50 in this savings at the same time. So like just having that balance.
You have to have that communication. We did the same thing in the beginning of our marriage too. And let me just say this first. When me and John first got married, we were both broke. Okay, broke. Okay, on the let's struggle bus. Okay, like for real, y'all. We got married. We got an apartment in North Atlanta. We had y'all. This is not even embarrassing because it's just a testimony to where God has brought us. But we had an inflatable sofa in our living room, and we had an air mattress and an air mattress. And that was literally all that we had in our apartment. Like we were so broke, y'all. But off of that, we also made bad money decisions too, because we didn't have those kind of conversations that Miriam said. Like we didn't talk about what's our money language. And John is the same way. His heart is to give. Okay. And then my husband is also to the place where he's been broke, but he's been even more broke than before we were married. And his thing is like, I'm never going back to that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm never gonna be that broke again. So when I have money, like I might have money. Anywho, we just have different money languages. And I'm just like, Miriam, I'm a saver. Like I'm super stupid frugal. John told me one time, he was like, I remember you had $20 and you made it last the whole week. And I have no idea how you did it. Like I'm that one. But I co-signed on a car for him too. And then it was just a whole lot of issues. So we've had a lot of money struggles that could have gotten better had we just communicated. So everything that you said is like completely right. And it can really cause some stress in marriage. And I think that's also in the top 3 reasons why couples get divorced is finance. So
there's a thing called financial infidelity. Like a lot of money gurus use, and it's like, so let's say and I know a lot of people joke and think it's cute, but like let's say if your wife just has an Amazon problem and she just spends, then you're thinking you're good because you and your husband don't talk about money, but then you got like this car payment or this bill that's going unpaid that he didn't tell you about. And then it's like, now you guys are bumping heads because there's no communication, or just spending and not telling your spouse that you're spending the money. Like that could, in some marriages, can really cause a toll.
Exactly. So it's super important. And they don't talk about it. Nobody told me that. And so I'm telling y'all today, have that conversation today with your spouse. If you haven't had it, be like, honey, come here, let's talk. Okay.
What's your money language?
And I
what's your account sitting on?
Right.
Or they have secret accounts. Some people do that. Some I ain't gonna say no names, but I know people have said, I'm like, you have a whole secret account. They're like, yeah, just in case something happens between like me and my husband, I got this whole other account. I'm like,
no.
You know what? I would say we talk about the things that they don't tell you, but let me tell you one thing that, and I cannot stand this. My family would say was, oh, you don't always have to let your right hand know what your left hand doing. What? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Like if we
I heard that all the time too.
Why we gonna keep secrets?
That secret spending gonna send you to a divorce, okay?
Right. Come on. Secret spending, anything gonna send you to a divorce. You should not keep secrets in your marriage.
No.
Like I just never understood that logic. And I'm just like, okay, you ain't married no more. Right. I don't want to be married to you, but he's still here. Y'all foolishness.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, today's time, I think like today, I think there are a lot of secrets. Like I know I'm not talking about our marriage, but I'm just talking about what I see on Instagram, just all kind of stuff. A lot of people have a lot of secrets in their marriage, and I mean, it works for them. I think now people are just trying to find some type of security in marriage, but I think the overall thing that people is really missing on the only way to have security in your marriage is trust. Like you're not going to feel secure. So if you go into marriage feeling any type of insecurity or not even trusting him, you're not going to trust him in no area. Money, sex. I mean, you're not going to have that anyway. So I think when you have a man and you are, having any relationship, I think you have to examine each area and be like, listen, do I trust you in this area? Do I trust you in this area? You just can't go off the potential.
That's very true.
Stop falling in love with potential. Yeah.
And that's just what I think that's what a lot of women are doing right now. Like, okay, he's good and bad, but he's stuck with his finances, but I'm good in my finances. It's just, I think people are finding some type of justification on why I should be in a relationship with this person. Like, I mean, I think you should just be able to trust your husband in every area. He should be. He should meet.
You should find
100% in every area.
Well.
So even with money, like for me, I was able to make a transition to being a stay-at-home mom from working all my life since I was 16 years old, because I had a, like, I became a mom young, but like transitioning to being a stay-at-home mom was easy for me because I trust
Yeah.
him, like,
Yeah.
to make me feel secure. Like, it
Yeah.
ain't that he was making all this, money, or he, but it was just the fact that I trust him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then because I trust him, the transition was easy. And that goes
Yeah.
from being married, that goes from being single to married.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't trust a man, and if it's any red flags anywhere, like, you have
You're
to,
gonna bring them into the marriage, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
you got to be very
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah.
So, and just being a stay-at-home mom, and not working, um, that's the number one reason that gives me a sense of, like, I'm content because I trust my husband.
Yeah.
Right.
I trust him to make the right decisions. I
Yeah.
trust him to pay the bills on time. I trust him not to just be going out there doing God knows what with money. I
Right.
trust him that whenever I need something, he's gonna meet that need for us
Right.
financially. So I think the foundation of it all is just trust.
Yeah.
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 I
Um,
agree.
And someone who may have struggled with, like us, like financial infidelity, that's what we
right.
call it.
I like
It's
that.
we have grown in our trust through this communication process, and I'm kind of like Ashley now. I stay at home and I'm trusting him to go out and make the financial decisions and to make sure to secure a job. And so
Right.
you can recover from it, ladies, and
Yes.
be encouraged with anything.
Yep.
Like you can recover from it, but money
Right.
does matter. Money
And I thought
does
about
matter.
this real quick. Communication heals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Communication does heal.
communication heals. Like,
Oh, that's
just
nice.
having a simple conversation. Like, you'll be feeling one way one day, and then the next day, because y'all decided to communicate, like, you'll free yourself up, like, from
Yeah.
so much
Come
when you
on.
communicate.
That's good. Communication heals. That's really
Yeah,
good.
That's
yeah,
good.
it does.
Well, go ahead and preach if you want to.
Come
Shoot.
on. Well, number 3. Let's move on to our third thing that we wish somebody would have told us before we became these lovely wives is boom.
Love is a choice. Oh,
Joy.
yeah.
Savannah?
So this is a lesson that I had to learn. I guess like growing up, to be honest, like my childhood and the example of marriage I had in my childhood was not a good one, like from either side, like parents. My stepfather was very cruel to my mom, and then I didn't really have a relationship with my dad to know what his marriage looked like. So I just had bad examples. So like all my examples, I always thought, okay, that's the bad. I know that. Like I know there are really bad things out there. But there
Mhm.
are good marriages too. And like all my examples came from like the movies and Cinderella and like oh the
Right.
notebook and like oh my gosh, these people, people fall in love and they're just perfect, and when you get married it's just gonna be perfect, as long as your guy's not, abusive like the example I had,
Yeah.
or manipulative like the example I had. I never knew there was like a middle ground. I thought it's either really bad or it's like going to be a fairy tale, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So what I've discovered though is that there's totally a middle ground, and like normal people, like everyday people, love is a choice. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
to wake up every day and make the choice to work on your marriage and to
Yeah.
communicate and to choose to love that person even when you don't like them, because I don't like my husband sometimes.
Girl.
I mean, that's
That's
just
real.
honestly, like, you have to still love them though. Like, and that's a choice. It's not an emotion. I mean, it is. There are different types of love, and we won't go into all the churchy stuff with that, but it's also a choice. And in marriage, it's mostly a choice, I feel like. Because I have to wake up and literally tell myself, like, I'm going to choose to love this guy even if I don't
And,
like him.
right, and that doesn't mean you have a bad marriage either.
No,
Right.
Marriage.
Like, they
it's
need to, like,
commitment. I feel like it's commitment.
Yeah.
So
yes.
you have to decide that. And I think
Yeah,
a
you
lot
do.
of the time, like our childhoods play a part into it, like mine did. And I also had like a conversation with my husband about this at one point, was that I think we both have had our share of like bad examples of marriages. And we came into the marriage thinking, well, as long as we're not like cheating on each other, or like as long as we're not
Yeah.
abusive to one another, or as long as we're not yelling at each other all the time,
Yeah.
then we have a good marriage. Like, you also have to set those expectations. Like, just because really bad things are not happening doesn't mean that
It's
really
good.
good things are
Yeah.
happening either.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
that plays a part in it as well.
That's really
This
good.
is true.
it kind of goes along into what I was going to share as well about happiness being a benefit of marriage. And so many times I'll say that to like women or men who are getting married, and they be like, "What? Like happiness is a benefit?" And I say that like happiness is it doesn't mean that you're never going to be happy, but it's a benefit of marriage. It's not the purpose of marriage.
Right.
And just
Right.
because like
Good.
the Bible, God is the one who created marriage. He created the institution of marriage. When He created marriage, He didn't present Eve to Adam to make him happy. We don't see that anywhere in the Bible. It says that He presented Eve to Adam to be a helpmeet. And so obviously there was a purpose that Adam was supposed to accomplish. And then He presented the wife to Adam so that she could help him to accomplish purpose. Now, I'm sure that they had happy moments. I'm sure that they had a great time. They was having
Right.
kids. They were living in the Garden of Eden. I'm sure they were happy, but that wasn't the purpose of the marriage. That was just a benefit that came along with it. And I think I wish somebody had told me that, because I hear so many times, and I'm guilty of it too, because I've been married twice. This is my second marriage. And I remember the first marriage. I was just like, he just makes me so happy. Like happiness is conditional. Happiness
Yeah.
is based on like good times and happy times. And there is not always going to be good and happy times. There are days and months and even seasons that you may be unhappy. I mean, I'm a living witness myself. We've had some really difficult times in our marriage. And that doesn't mean that I get a free pass to jump out and be like, oh, it's time for me to go deuces because you don't make me happy anymore. Like we shouldn't be married anymore.
Yeah.
I think that marriage is about purpose, and God put you together to accomplish purpose, and you rely on the Lord through the difficult times to help you pull through those. But you can't just base like I have a bad marriage because I'm not happy right now. No,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think it just comes back down to commitment and
Yeah.
like being committed to your spouse. There are going to be difficult times, but are committed in a covenant relationship, and I think that's also something we don't understand is covenant.
Yeah.
When I finally do a study on what covenant is, then I'm like, oh, like this is way deeper than just I love this man, so I'm with him and we're gonna be together. Like it's so much deeper than that. So I think it's just really important for wives and husbands to understand we ain't always gonna be happy, but
Yeah.
like pursue this.
And y'all know what? I am finding my balance in that. You know, because early on in our relationship, before like, you know, we've been together since we were 20, serious since we were 20, and we're now 31. And in the beginning, he made me happy. It was okay, I guess that puppy love and he makes me happy, getting butterflies, whatever. And one of the big things when we decided to get married, and once we got married, we never had we didn't have the conversation of what our expectations were, husband and wife. We never had that conversation. It was just like, okay, well, business as usual, We got married, just in peace. Next day we went to work. So there was, no true defining. So for a long time, I felt like one of the things was happiness. I needed happiness. And it's not until recently that I'm realizing that it's like you said, it's more to it than just happiness. It's a benefit, and sometimes you're not gonna always be happy. And y'all, it is a struggle for me because I'm just like, I'm a happy person, I'm a fun person, so I just want to be happy, And I'm like, you're a part of my life, so you should be a part of that, making me happy. And he's just like, he's like that, like, look, you ain't gonna always be happy. And if you be happy, you need to find your happiness.
Yeah, make yourself happy.
And I'm just like, and for a long time, I'm like, you supposed to be making me happy.
Yeah.
Your job.
And I think that's an unrealistic expectation that spouses put on one another. Like I could not get into any relationship, spousal or not, just because that person is required to make me happy, because that's just not realistic. But that is what society has told us for so long in the fairy tales, like Savannah was talking about. That like this Prince Charming comes along and makes you happy, and you're happy all your days.
All
like
the time.
has these real conversations. Like it's not always gonna be like that, and you got to put them and love them regardless.
And and you know what? I always tell people all the time, and I'm gonna say it on here, like marriage is not for little kids. It's for mature adults. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those things. I mean, you can get married and get divorced, but I think marriage is just something that is it's for people who can be loyal, who can be committed. It's for people who can
Have emotional intelligence.
Yeah, have emotional.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and it's for strong people. Like
Mhm.
I don't think marriage is for the weak.
And also people who's willing to evolve.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you're open to evolving, if you're
Yeah,
open to,
that's
you know
good.
what, I was here and I'm open to the next level. If you
Yeah.
stay in a place of, willing and open to evolve, then you have something, because we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
So, but our goal is to be the perfect us in that moment, in that
Right.
season. And so,
Mhm.
if you're willing and open to evolving, then you
Yes.
you're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Yep. And
For
I
sure.
know we got to move on, guys, but I just want to share this because this is just an example how important communication is. Like whenever I met my husband, like he was doing a lot of speaking, like motivational speaking and preaching, like going different places, and and I was attracted to that. Like that was something I was attracted to. But one day he communicated with me, and because I mean now like our lives have changed, and he's no longer doing it right now. But he asked me, he was like, "Are you okay?" Because I know when you met me, I was preaching, I was teaching. You was attracted to that. Like this was, I mean, I'm not doing that anymore. So I just want to know, like,
Mm.
are you okay, like with that? Because I didn't know if you was just attracted to that. That's why, that you was attracted to me. But that's why it's very important not to go into any marriage with a motive. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you was like this well-known person and you was preaching and teaching and going off stuff. And now that you're not doing it,
Now what?
are
Yeah.
you do you
Yep.
still want to be with me? And that's why it's very important not to go into a relationship or any relationship with a motive, because people change, things change,
Mhm.
people desires change. As we stay married to our husbands, he's going to change.
Mhm.
Hopefully the change is for the better, but
Mhm.
we should motivate each other to change, to evolve. Like, and I feel like if your husband is not challenging that in your life, then I don't really see a point of being married. Because me,
Mhm.
one thing that I look up to in my husband, he's always changing. Like he's always looking for ways to improve. Like he's connected with himself. Like he's an intellectual. Like he think on things on a different level. And that challenges me to not just think of things on a surface. Like it challenged me to
Yeah.
be a better woman. It challenged me to, discipline myself in certain areas. So I just want to put that out there. Like you and your husband should be like challenging each other to grow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because as because you don't want to he growing, like he's here or you here and he's here. That's when
Mhm.
a lot of communication issues happen, or
Mhm.
a lot of art, what I'm saying. So I just I value that in our marriage. It's just
Yeah.
challenging each other to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's real
Yeah.
good.
Yep. And
You
that
guys,
brings us to
go ahead, Mary.
I was gonna say, just to piggyback off of what you said about evolving and changing, I think the Holy Spirit dealt with me like the first year in our marriage. It was like, okay, when you were single and you were praying for a spouse, you had like tenacity. You were going after me in prayer. You were, pursuing me in prayer. And I think that was something that I didn't really realize going into wifehood, is that I'm going to have to pray and ask the Holy Spirit for that same level, like in prayer, going at, like for my husband, like
Mm-hmm.
while we're married, and to learn each other through the lens of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
And so that was something that I was like, whoo, like as we evolve and change, my prayer life for him changes.
Yes. So
Not
good.
in the level that I pray, but how I pray for him
Right. Right.
changes.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's ever read the book, The Power of a Praying Wife. I know that's like a go-to book that all women always talk about, but
I've never
that
heard of
helped
it.
me start really by Storm
Uh-uh.
or Martian or whatever it is. It's a great
Yeah,
book.
I heard of it. But I
Yeah,
never read
but it really kind of got me on this, helped me in my fervor for learning. It helped me learn how to pray for my husband, because there's all different
Okay.
areas where you can pray for your husband. And it kind of was a good book to start me off. And from there, really ignited this fervor to really pray for your husband. Because y'all, the prayers of a wife for their husband, I'm telling you, they got
Okay.
power. Not saying
It
nobody
does.
Yes.
got power, but the prayers that a
Yeah.
wife has for, and then
Absolutely.
another thing, real quick, because we really do have to go. We've been on here for a while, but one thing that I learned from the book is that whenever I was upset with my husband or things were difficult in our marriage, I'd always pray, like, God, deal with him. Like, he wrong, God.
Yep.
He wrong, and you need to deal with him and all this other kind of stuff. And I had to learn to stop coming to God about him. Like, God gonna deal with him in his own time. And whatever. Like I need, when I'm coming to God, I'm like, Lord, help me. How can
Right.
I minister to my
Right.
husband? How
Yeah.
can I help me to be able to work through these times, whether they're difficult or not? How can I become you
Right.
and, show him the love that you desire for me to show him in this time, and stop coming from this like hateful place? Because really that's what it was. I was sick and tired
Yeah.
of him. And Lord, I need you to fix him. But like, no,
Yeah.
that's not how I need to pray. I really need to come from a place of humility.
Right.
So anywho, that was just an extra
What was the name of the
sidebar.
book
That's
again?
good.
The Power of a Praying Wife is by Stormy
Okay.
O'Martian. O'Martian, I think
Omar.
it's how you
Yeah,
say
something
her
like
last
that.
name. It's O'Martin, something like that. But it's called The Power of a
Okay.
Praying Wife. Really, really, really good book. And it has a lot of like different prayers that you can just model, like praying for him in his spiritual life, praying for him on his job, praying for him about this. Like it's literally like 32 different things that she teaches you
Wow.
how to
Wow.
pray for your husband. Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
We should start
Okay.
okay.
A book
Yeah.
club.
Yeah, we should definitely do that.
Book club.
Stormy, if you want to sponsor us.
Right.
Tag her in this video. Thanks. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So who's doing the girl breathe moment? I don't remember.
Girl brief
I think-
moment. Collectively, our girl brief moment is, through all the topics that we've talked about, is to communicate, keeping communication open. Even when you feeling a little frustrated, still communicate those
Communicate.
That's the biggest thing. Being a wife, we bear the brunt of the job, but at the end of the day, as long as we're communicating, we can get through it with our husband.
Right.
You should want to push through with your husband. So communicate with that man. Talk to the man.
Communication heals. That's what Ashley
Yes.
said.
Yes, communication heals. Yes, that was so good. I'm telling you, you need to make a status about it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was fresh. Like the Holy
That was
Spirit just like
from the
dropped that
throne
thing on
room.
me.
Jesus, sprinkle
That
it down.
manna.
I felt it.
Yes.
That was
Yes, that's some good. So I think that's like the takeaway from this
Yep.
conversation. Communication heals. So whether it be sex, money, your happiness, your emotions, whatever it is, communicate those things, man. It
Yes.
really will heal your marriage. It's important. So,
Yes.
yes, well, we are so glad that y'all joined us today.
Yes.
It was a good time. Y'all, I enjoyed talking to y'all. Miriam, you said you're
That
going to
was
let them
good.
you can find us at.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So you can find us on Facebook at The Breathing Room, on Instagram at Girl Breathe, YouTube. You can go to our Instagram account and go into our bio, and you can subscribe there. And we're on YouTube at The Breathing Room. So continue to follow, like, share, subscribe,
Yes.
all of those
All of
things.
that.
Comment below what's your thoughts. What have you learned as a wife? If
Yeah.
you're not married, what are you looking forward to in wifehood? Let us know,
Yeah,
comment,
and help
and share.
us. Like we still young married. Like
Yes,
some
yeah.
seasoned women, 20, 30, 40-year marriage. Like help us
Please,
out.
Give
Yes.
us the tips and the tea.
Yes.
Yes, the tea,
Please.
baby.
and the tea. Okay.
Yes.
Both. We need both, please.
Yes.
We need all
yes.
that.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, we hope that you will join us next week, y'all. We got another good episode coming for y'all next week. So Wednesday, same time, we will be dropping an episode. But we appreciate y'all sticking with us through this 42, 43 minutes we done been on here.
I know. We
Yes.
went over today.
Sticking with us.
It was
We
getting
hope-
good.
Yeah. We'll have to do a part 2.
Yeah, we do have to do a part
Maybe.
2.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have an amazing week until we see y'all again. All right.
Bye.
Bye.